Did you think the universe is silent? Well, it is not. In this episode, I will show you the top 20 most creepy sounds ever captured in space. All of these sounds are real and are captured by NASA and other space organizations. Let me show you an example of what you can expect. Our journey starts just outside Earth, where some of the strangest space sounds have been picked up, not by accident, but by real scientific missions listening to what's going on out there. Scientists using satellites discovered a sound above our planet that honestly feels straight out of a sci-fi movie. It's called the dawn chorus because it sounds like birds singing at sunrise. But it's not animals. It's energy waves in Earth's magnetic field, reacting to charged particles from space. Once translated into audio, it gives off a fast, high-pitched chirping that's weirdly peaceful, but also kind of unsettling. Move a little farther out and we hit the Van Allen radiation belts. These rings of energy surround the Earth and protect us from dangerous particles. But if you record the waves out there, it doesn't sound safe at all. More like heavy static, electrical pops, and clicking. Imagine an old radio stuck between stations, only louder and way more chaotic. In 1969, Apollo 10 astronauts picked up something unexpected while orbiting the far side of the moon, a whistling tone coming through their headsets. One of them even called it space music. They were confused, even joked about it, but clearly didn't expect to hear anything at all. NASA later explained it as radio interference, but the fact that it caught the astronauts off guard makes it memorable. When Voyager 1 left the solar system, it recorded a rising sound, like a long, steady tone climbing higher. That was plasma outside the influence of the sun. For scientists, it meant Voyager had crossed into a whole new part of space. But to anyone listening, it just sounds like something strange is out there. Leaving Earth behind, we head toward the giant planets, Jupiter and Saturn, where the sounds get louder, deeper, and even more confusing. These aren't quiet places. They're alive with magnetic storms, volcanic blasts, and signals that seem to come from every direction. When NASA's Juno spacecraft flew close to Jupiter, it recorded a loud, low growling noise. Scientists turned plasma wave readings into sound, and the result is something that feels like a steady roar mixed with a broken radio. Jupiter is the largest planet, and this voice seems to match: big, deep, and rough. Jupiter's moon Io is the most volcanic place in the solar system. When Voyager 1 flew past in 1979, it picked up high-pitched screeching noises from Io's interaction with Jupiter's magnetic field. It's hard to describe, almost like nails on a chalkboard, but digital. The sounds were sharp and unpredictable, kind of like a machine losing control. You might expect Saturn's rings to be silent, just ice and dust floating quietly. But when the Cassini spacecraft got close, it recorded clicks and pops, random and fast like static in a thunderstorm. These are particles hitting the sensors and tiny electrical bursts coming from the ring area. It's not constant, but it's far from silent. Still near Saturn, Cassini flew through water vapor jets coming out of the moon Enceladus. The converted audio captured deep, pulsing rhythms. It reminded some scientists of sonar or breathing underwater. These jets might come from an ocean beneath the moon's surface, which makes the sound even more interesting, because where there's water, there might be life. By now you're probably wondering, how are we hearing anything in space at all? Isn't space supposed to be silent? That's a fair question. And here's the answer. Yes, space is a vacuum, which means there's no air to carry sound like we hear on Earth. But what scientists actually record out there isn't sound in the normal way. Instead, they capture radio waves, plasma vibrations, and magnetic signals, then convert that data into audio using special software. It's a lot like turning a heartbeat into a beeping monitor or weather data into music. So technically, we aren't hearing space itself. We're hearing how space behaves, turned into something we can understand with our ears. There are also a few myths we should clear up. First, that Apollo space music we talked about earlier. Some people thought it was proof of aliens or that NASA was hiding something. But most experts agree it was likely just interference between two different radios on board the capsule. Still, the astronauts didn't know that at the time, so their surprise was real. Second, many viral videos claim we've heard actual alien voices or warnings in space. Most of those are either edited or completely fake. NASA and other space agencies have released plenty of strange recordings, but none of them are secret. You can actually listen to them yourself on NASA's SoundCloud page. And finally, yes, even the spooky sounds from planets like Jupiter or Saturn are just energy waves being translated into audio. It's science, not a ghost story. That said, just because it's explainable doesn't mean it's boring. In fact, some of the strangest and most confusing sounds are still coming. As we head into deeper space, we've passed the gas giants and their noisy moons. Now we move farther out beyond where sunlight starts to fade, into places most spacecraft have never visited. Out here, the sounds get stranger and harder to explain. Uranus is tilted so far over its magnetic field doesn't line up with its rotation. That weird angle causes energy waves to twist and spin in unusual patterns. When NASA's Voyager 2 flew by in 1986, it picked up wave signals that sounded like slow-moving, rising and falling tones, almost like a distant engine starting and stopping. It's not loud, but it's steady and kind of strange. Next stop, Neptune. When Voyager 2 passed this icy giant, it recorded bursts of radiation that clicked like quick Morse code. The energy here builds up and releases in short, punchy sounds, kind of like a spark plug. Some of the signals came in fast clusters, then went silent again, like someone tapping quickly and walking away. In 2014, the Rosetta spacecraft landed on Comet 67P. While it was approaching, it recorded something unexpected. A rhythmic pulse scientists later called the Song of the Comet. It came from plasma waves near the comet's surface. Once translated into audio, it sounded like a low, repetitive hum with soft bumps, almost like something knocking from the inside. Closer to the sun again, NASA's Parker Solar Probe picked up something intense while diving into the solar wind. The translated sounds came out as screeching highs and rolling crackles, like a mix of wind, electricity, and metal under stress. It's the sound of charged particles slamming into each other at insane speeds. Not music, more like a cosmic storm. On Mars, the InSight lander placed a special seismometer on the surface. What it recorded shocked scientists. Gentle tapping rhythms from beneath the ground. These were Mars quakes, soft, distant rumbles caused by shifting crust. When turned into audio, it sounded like slow drumming, or someone walking underground. Venus is wild, hot enough to melt lead, with pressure strong enough to crush a submarine. Back in the 1980s, the Soviet Venera landers survived just long enough to send back sounds. What we heard? A deep, rumbling wind. It didn't move fast, but it was heavy and constant, like standing next to a slow-moving freight train that never ends. The fact that this was picked up on the surface of another planet makes it even more unbelievable. And now, something truly weird. Fast radio bursts, or FRBS. These are short, powerful blasts of radio energy coming from deep space, possibly from galaxies millions of light years away. Some of them repeat in patterns. When converted to sound, they come out like sharp zaps, almost like a digital alarm. Scientists still don't know what causes them. Are they natural? Are they signals? No one's sure. But they're real, and they're still being detected. Out here far past the known planets, space feels a little less quiet and a lot more active. Some of the sounds make sense. Others are still a mystery. But there's one thing that's clear. The further we go, the more it feels like space is trying to say something. We've reached the end of our journey, the edge of what humans have explored, and the final 5 sounds on this list aren't just strange. They're powerful, unsettling, and unforgettable. Some came from violent events. Some came just before everything went silent, and one still has people asking questions to this day. The Cassini spacecraft spent 13 years exploring Saturn, but in 2017, NASA sent it on a final dive into the planet's atmosphere. As it fell, it kept recording. The result? Static-filled data filled with pops, streaks, and shifts, like hearing a storm fade in and out on an old TV. Some parts sound rushed and distorted, almost panicked, before the signal cuts out completely. It was the sound of a mission ending live. Using special instruments, scientists converted the sun's outer waves, called the corona, into audio. What they got was a deep, layered vibration that rises and falls like a massive choir holding long notes. It's not harsh, it's slow and full. But knowing that this comes from a ball of gas millions of times bigger than Earth, that gives it weight. It's the sun humming. One of the wildest moments in space audio happened when NASA took X-ray data from a black hole in the Perseus galaxy cluster and translated it into sound. The pitch was too low for human ears, so they raised it. The result? A deep groaning tone, like wind echoing through a canyon. It's the pressure waves from matter being pulled toward the black hole, and it sounds like space itself is crying out. When spacecraft cross from one region of space into another, like moving from a solar wind zone into a magnetic field, they pass through something called a bow shock. This is kind of like a space version of a sonic boom. The sound is short and sharp, like a pulse. It's over in seconds, but it makes you jump. It's the sound of space changing. And now we return to the moment that still gives people chills. The Apollo 10 music from the far side of the moon. The crew was out of radio contact with Earth. While flying behind the moon, their headsets picked up a loud, repeating whistle. One astronaut asked, "You hear that?" Another said, "Sounds like outer spacey music."
That music even sounds outer spacey, doesn't it? Do you hear that? That whistling sound?
NASA eventually explained it as harmless interference, but there's still debate. The sound was real. The astronauts were confused, and no one expected it. That strange looping tone, Ramon heard where no one could hear them, is still the most memorable space sound ever recorded. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below.